Because while it seemed to have started with good intentions, that's how the road to hell is paved. Now, one person who said this, I asked them for a source, and the reply was to tell me, go Google it, and then they blocked me. Validation.
Doesn't his Q get stronger every time you kill something with it?
It doesn't give a fuck what you think. Please them. It's a waste of time. So after the boycott resulted in much more press, promotion, sales, and popularity of the game, the boycotters showed their true colors. After exhausting all their options, they have resorted to spoiling the game's story and ending for as many people as possible. I kind of figured this would happen, you know? They're what we thought they were.
They're what we thought they were.
True degenerates. It was never about doing something positive or improving the lives of trans people. They simply wanted to ruin this piece of media for you. That was their true goal. Things have any real proof behind them. Dude, she's writing this article just to downplay any potential harassment that might have occurred.
What the fuck's wrong with you?
As a trans woman, I believe everyone should be free to enjoy Hogwarts Legacy. I pre-ordered it and plan on enjoying it myself. Everyone has been waiting for a game like this, and we need to separate JK from the game developers who have worked endlessly to bring us a masterpiece. Video right there, to be honest. I should get that comment framed. Now, I think as a palate cleanser, we need some good takes, okay? Every day trans legislation
I made a stinky. I made a stinky.
Y'all are talking about a video game that I'm not. It's impossible to talk positively about Hogwarts Legacy without harming a community of human beings.
But then you see how the polarizing reviews passed away in journalism, where the product would not be reviewed on its own merits.
I want to make it clear to you right now that as a transgender individual, I have no interest in that kind of fairness or objectivity when it comes to Hogwarts Legacy. I feel a moral imperative to oppose it. Ah, yes. This is a review. This is an actual review. The story is rooted in anti-Semitic tropes. The gameplay feels outdated. The graphics feel like they're a couple generations behind.
The graphics are dog shit. The graphics are dog shit. The graphics are dog shit.
This is a review. Can't be bought, bullied, reasoned, or negotiated with. Some of them just want to watch the world burn. You see, I'm all for people standing up and doing something positive for what they believe in. The problem is you have people in subreddits like r/gaming circle jerk that dilute that. It's amazing to see a helpline that has saved my life before get more attention and donations. If anything good has come from this line of discussion, it's that. Thank you to the person for sending me this. Gestures like these, no matter how right they are on their own, blind us and praise.
I understand that. In the meantime, I'm gonna be in Hogwarts. Bitch.
So, in conclusion, just because you are boycotting something that you feel is a moral imperative does not mean you a new direction for the channel or anything. I really just had to vent on this because the amount of stupidity and shitheads I saw was just... I think at this point we should actively ignore this discourse because I want to get back to talking about video games, mechanics, and deep, thoughtful analysis of this hobby I love that I turned into a career. Just remember that the ends do not always justify the means. But thank you all for watching. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments below. Like the video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to the Act Man for more awesome content.
He was a welder, others say he was a mechanic, some kind of person who was good with toolcraft, who could theoretically make the collar bomb. The only thing Brian gave them to go off of before he died was that 3 black men threw the collar on him. So the cops in Erie, Pennsylvania are like, alright, I guess we'll just look for black people. But other than that, they didn't have a lot to go on. The other lead was the bomb itself, which was weird to say the least. The inner machinations of the bomb itself weren't that complicated.
Oh man.
It was just 2 pipe bombs laid in front of Brian's chest. It's pretty much the most elementary bomb you could make. The actual locking mechanism around the neck was effectively a giant handcuff, with the same system of ratchets that click into place, and a key that's needed to release the ratchet so that it can come undone. The bomb itself had 4 keyholes and a 3-digit combination lock. On top of that, the inside of the case holding the bomb had 2 kitchen timers that were seemingly used for the countdown that would start the explosion sequence indicated by the beeping noise to throw people off, as well as several wires that didn't go anywhere. On top of that, there were several warnings written on the collar itself that said things like to remove Brian's head during his autopsy. This decision was highly contested by the family, but since the bomb collar was the only thing the police had to work with, they decided that keeping it intact was paramount.
Wait a minute. Wait
See,
a
at
minute.
this
Wait a
time,
minute.
the
Wait a
FBI
wait a
began
minute. Wait a
building
minute.
profile and putting out to the
Wait a
public
minute.
that whoever's doing this dollars, they're partially in it for the game of it all. Because think about it, killer was a woman named Marjorie
Ugh.
Armstrong.
Ugh.
Marjorie, apparently a boyfriend somewhere in there who she dated for a while, who took his own life. So she has yell expletives at them, tell them to kill themselves, that she hated them, and then one of them would compliment her, be like, your hair looks lovely today, and she just stopped immediately. In that 1984 case, whenever she murdered her boyfriend, never went to trial, because if she goes to trial, she can get off for some level of mental incompetency or being battered or what have you, and said that she should instead, that police already know who Marjorie is, so they go to arrest her and they get James's body out and begin sifting through the house. A lot of sources say that he only wrote the note and then never made any physical attempts to do it. Rothstein. However, the most interesting part is what he wrote at the beginning of this note that says, this has nothing to do with the Wells case. Okay, so picture this. You're an investigator. You get a call that there is a dead body at this location. Just coincidence, the two were located so close to each other. And then the guy who assisted in moving the body of James Roden writes in his note, this has nothing to do with Brian Wells. Right now, let's talk about Bill Rothstein. Bill Rothstein, like Marjorie, was also a very annoying person, but for a different reason. Bill was the kind of guy who always felt like he was the smartest person in the room. Seen with him, he would randomly switch into speaking French or Hebrew. A guy who never really followed through on anything. He was going to be a pilot for a while, but then he decided he wasn't interested. He was going to be a professor, then decided he wasn't interested. Which eventually led to the situation of him living in a derelict biohazard of a home while telling people around him that he's smarter than them because he can speak Hebrew. Time she had trouble or wanted something from him, he was at her beck and call. It's also important to point out that both of them were smart. I know that I've mentioned they had physical smarts, like she was conniving and he was fluent in things like French and Hebrew, but they both seemed to be clever as well. Marjorie had a master's degree, and Bill had apparently taken all kinds of college classes and led a group called the Fractured Intellectuals, which was, I imagine, a group of people who thought they were too smart for everyone else, close to the radio station. During this time, the only other person that the police were able to loop in to their investigation was an old roommate of Bill Rothstein's named Floyd Stockton. Floyd Stockton had lived with Rothstein supposedly at the time of James, who lives in the front yard of the location where Brian Wells was kidnapped, and he has an affinity for building metal contraptions and making things needlessly elaborate and trying to prove how smart he is. And they're trying to figure out who in that radio station, at that abandoned radio station, would put together a scenario where a man gets a bomb strapped to his chest and is told to follow a scavenger hunt. I'm convinced that, like, police television shows, like, you know, serial dramas, like Law and Order, Criminal Minds, those have to be funded by the State Department. Like, we know the Department of Defense funds games like Call of Duty because it's like propaganda, right? And, like, Homeland Security or the FBI or someone's got to be funding those. When in real life, every single case I read about, the cops are like, after 8 months, they eventually searched the skeleton pile, only to find that it was full of skeletons. So, after the police cleared Rothstein, Marjorie finds out about it, and she's not happy one bit. So, while Rothstein gets cleared of suspicion on the Wells case, while Marjorie is being moved through prison and the press are all over her with cameras, she looks at them and yells, Bill Rothstein is responsible for Brian Wells' death.